If number of classes are derived from single base class, it is called as hierarchical inheritance. The copy of the object of a base class is present in all the three derived classes. Constructors are the one which has the same name as that of class and used to initialize the object of a class. Dear students, welcome to Computer Science classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram PU College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Students, let us continue our discussion of the chapter Inheritance with the topics Levels of Inheritance, Abstract Classes and Virtual Base Classes. So we are going to cover these topics in this session. Now let us see what are different levels of inheritance. Now in our previous session, we have discussed about the definition of inheritance. So it is nothing but acquiring properties from the base class, and derived class is the one which acquires properties from the base class, and base class is the one from where the properties are inherited to the derived class. Now based on this, let us see the different levels of inheritance. So generally there are different these 5 types of inheritance. They are single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance and hybrid inheritance. So now let us see the examples and definition of these things one by one. Now first one is single inheritance. So what is the definition of this? If a class is derived from a single base class, it is called as single inheritance. So what is single inheritance? A derived class, it is derived from only one base class. That is the meaning of single inheritance. Now look at the example here. Suppose this is a base class and this is a derived class. So this derived class acquires the properties from this base class, and that too, this acquires properties only from one class or one base class. It is called as single inheritance. Now look at the example. We can say that suppose father is name of a class, base class, and son is the derived class. So we can assume that son is the derived class which acquires the properties from only the father class. So this is an example for this. For example, in generally what we can say this, the son is resemble his father only. It is called as single level inheritance. Now let us move on to next level, that is multi-level inheritance. Now the classes can also be derived from the classes that are already derived. So this is multi-level inheritance. So the classes can also derive from already derived classes. So the meaning is, here look at the example here. This is the base class and this is the derived class 1. So this one class derived from this base class, and this is another derived class and it is derived from this base class. And again, this is if there are number of classes, so it is derived from the already derived class or previous classes are called multi-level inheritance. For example, we can say grandfather, father and a son. In general, we can assume that a grandfather is a base class and father is the derived class, one derived class, and son is the another derived class. So from this example, we can say that this father, he will acquire the properties from his father, the grandfather, and the son acquires properties from his father. This is an example for multi-level inheritance. Now let us move on to next slide. It is multiple inheritance. It is multiple inheritance. So what is multiple inheritance? If a class is derived from more than one base class, it is called as multiple inheritance. So I repeat, here is a class derived from more than one base class. Now look at this diagram or schematic diagram here. So this is one base class, second base class, and you can have n number of classes here. And this is only one derived class. So here this derived class is acquired properties from all the classes, base class 1 and even base class 2 and even base class 3 or n. So this class acquires the properties from base class 1, base class 2 and if it is base class n. So in this example, this one class acquires the properties from number of base classes. It is called multiple inheritance. So generally, we can say that if a class called king and queen, there are two different classes, and one more derived class, we can say prince. For example, prince is one more class, is a derived class. So here, the son or a daughter acquires the property from father and a mother. So those two are example for two different base classes. So this is multiple inheritance. Now let us move on to next slide. Next one is hierarchical inheritance. Now, if a number of classes are derived from single base class, it is called as hierarchical inheritance. So I repeat, if number of classes are derived from single base class, it is called as hierarchical inheritance. For example, here this is base class 1 and from base class, we can have number of derived classes. For example, this is derived class 1, so this is derived class 2, and this is derived class 3 here. So, in this example, this base derived class has its own properties or it can have its own data member and member functions along with the few member functions or data members of base class. So, this can acquire similarly, derived class 2, it acquires the properties from base class along with its own data members. Similarly, even for derived class 3. So, here number of classes are derived from only one base class. It is called as hierarchical inheritance. So, here this one schematic example we can write like this. Suppose in a stop, if we talk about a stop, we have different types of category. Here we have lecturers and again office stop as well as group D stop. These are different classes comes under only one class, that is base class. That is in this example, it is a staff. So this is hierarchical inheritance. Now let us move on to next one, that is hybrid inheritance. So hybrid inheritance is a combination of hierarchical and multi-level inheritance. So hybrid is nothing but, or a hybrid inheritance is nothing but combination of hierarchical as well as multi-level. Now let us this example here. So this is one base class and there are two more classes, derived class 1 and derived class 2. In this example, these two are derived from this one base class. These two are derived from one base class, and here we have one more derived class. You can take for example 3. This derived class 3 is derived from these two classes, that is derived class 1 as well as derived class 2. So this is an example for hybrid inheritance. So if you look at the example here, hierarchical inheritance and multi-level inheritance. So this is multi-level inheritance, this is hierarchical inheritance. So by looking at the diagram, we can understand the hybrid inheritance. It is a combination of hierarchical as well as multi-level inheritance. Now let us move on to next definition. Here it is called virtual base classes. Now let us see what is it. Here, when two or more objects are derived from a common base class, we can prevent multiple copies of the base class being present in the object derived from those objects by declaring the base class as virtual when it is being inherited. So, first of all, you have to understand that, see, whenever you are going to derive a class from the base class, here the copies of the object of the base class is present in all derived classes. For example, if there are 3 derived class from one base class, so here the copy of the object of a base class is present in all the 3 derived classes. So with respect to that, see here those that can be avoided mean the copying the same object, the object of a base class to the derived class, that can be avoided by using virtual base class and by using a reserved word virtual when it is being inherited. So when we are inheriting the property, if we use virtual keyword or reserved word, so copying the base object or object of a base class to derived classes can be avoided. That is called virtual base classes. And here such a base class is known as virtual base classes, and this can be achieved by preceding the base class name with the word virtual. By using this virtual keyword, it can be achieved here. So this is virtual base classes. Next one is abstract class. Now let us see one more definition. What is abstract class here? An abstract class is the one that is not used to create any object, and abstract class is being designed only to act as a base class to be inherited by the other classes. So what is an abstract class? And you know what is a class now, isn't it? And you know what is a base class and what is a derived class. So here, if there is a base class and we get the derived class by acquiring the properties from the base class, and here we have something called abstract class. Suppose these a type of classes from which the properties cannot be inherited. So the members, data members and member function cannot be inherited to derived class or nothing, or in other words, we can say it acts as only a base class. No, there is no question of inheriting properties from that particular class. So that is, those type of classes are called abstract classes. Next definition is destructors in derived classes. Now we have learned already the definition of constructors and destructors. See, what are constructors? Constructors are the one which has the same name as that of class and used to initialize the object of a class. And also we have learned the definition of destructors. So destructors are the one which are used to release the memory space allocated during program execution for an object. So there we are using destructors. So destructors in derived classes. Now we know what is a derived class. It acquires the properties from the base class. Then how it works, how destructor works in derived class. So if the constructors are called downline from base class to derived class, the destructors are called just in the reverse order. That is, from derived class up to the base class. So generally when we use constructors, we used to call constructors from base class to the derived class. But in the case of destructors, it is in the reverse order. That means we have to call the destructors from the derived class up to the base class in the reverse order. So this is how we use destructors in derived classes. Students, in this session, we have discussed the different levels of inheritance and definitions of abstract class and virtual base class. Now, we will continue our discussion in my next session. Thank you so much.